Hi, it's Len Kammerman from Hero Technical Solutions. In this video, I'm going to show you how to use Crystal Reports with an ACT database. In the previous video I just quickly showed you how to connect ACT to Crystal Reports, and in this video I'm actually going to take you a little further than that. We'll connect to the ACT database again, but then we're going to do an opportunity report and kind of use some different features of Crystal in order to illustrate how to get things done in that software. Okay, so we're going to connect Crystal to ACT, as I mentioned, how to log into the database, get connected to our data, and then we're going to create an opportunity report as our example. And some of the specifics of that report will be that we're going to create something that sorts by company name, looks nice, so we'll cover some of the formatting options, how to change fonts around, do borders, things like that. Make sure that we've got page numbering on it and the report date. Also calculate potential commission value. So we're going to come up with a fictitious commission percentage just to show on that report what the potential is for a sales rep to make on it. And then we'll also show upcoming activities for the contact that the opportunity belongs to. So I can see the opportunity and then I can see open activities that I have with that contact. It'll make for a good example of a sub-report. Okay, so let's go ahead and we'll jump right into Crystal Reports and get connected to the database and then start from there. Okay, so I'm in Crystal Reports and I have clicked on the new button and I'm going to create a new report. Okay, so the first thing that I need to know is where my ACT database is, because I'm going to hit create new connection, and then this is going to be under OLEDB. And I want to choose the 2.0 reporting provider. Talked a little bit about that last time. Hit next. Okay, data source is going to be the path to our PAD file. So if I don't know where that is, I can go into ACT, go to the help menu, go to About ACT, and then hit database information. Then hit database information and grab this right here. Okay, so now I've got that. And I can go back into Crystal Reports, just paste that in. Okay, the user ID is going to be the username for the database, whatever you log into ACT as, and if you have a password, enter it there. We can leave the database blank. Okay, and the data that we pull out of ACT will actually respect who we log in as. So whatever login you provide, the OLEDB provider will only give you the data that user should have access to. Okay, so go ahead and hit next. Hit finish. Okay, and in this case, I want the opportunity information and also the contact. And this stuff that we're looking for is always going to be under DBO. Okay, so I'm looking for opportunity. I also want some information about the contact. And then I need the kind of the cross-reference table that links contacts up to opportunities. Those are named pretty easily to figure out. Contact underscore opportunity will do that. Okay, and I should be good to go because I just want a list of opportunities along with the contacts. I'm also going to bring in, actually let's go and bring our user list in there too. Okay, in case we need some information about the users. I'm just interested in which user each opportunity belongs to. Okay, so once you've picked the tables that you're going to work with, go ahead, hit next. Okay, and then Crystal takes a fairly horrible guess at what links to what. Okay, so I'm going to expand my screen a little bit here. Okay, and I really need to change this. Okay, so I'm going to hit clear links. I'm going to link this up properly. So if I have an opportunity, I look for the opportunity ID. That's what links to my contact opportunity table. And then obviously contact ID is going to link to the contacts table. Okay, and then expand my user here. Okay, and then if I look, sometimes you look at this and you think, okay, is this going to be an actual ID or is this somebody's name? And if you right click and say browse field, it's going to show you examples of the data in there. Okay, so I can see in this case, record manager is going to tell me who the opportunity belongs to, and I don't actually need to link to the user table. Okay, I'm going to be good with that. If I needed some information about, what is their role in the database, are they administrator, are they standard user, anything like that, I could get that from the user table. I'm really not going to need that here because I have the record manager information right there. So I'm actually going to back up here. I'm going to pull the user table out. I want to keep this nice and neat. Okay, hit next, and now I have opportunities linked to the contact underscore opportunity table, and then linked to the contact table. So now I'm going to hit next. Okay, at any time I can hit finish and jump out of this. If I keep using the wizard, it's going to have me pick fields that I want on the report, and it'll take a guess at arranging them. Quite often when I'm creating a report, it has to have a specific look, and it's easier for me to just go right away and just start dropping the fields in. And in this case, take a look at the opportunity. I could pick some of those fields that I want from here. I'm actually, rather than picking the fields and keep hitting next and picking the formatting done for you already, I'm just going to hit finish at this point. Okay, and the report, all it gives me is it puts the print date up in the top corner. Okay, so I'm going to click on the design tab. We've got different sections in the report. The report header, whatever you put in this section will get repeated just at the very start of the report. Okay, if you have something in the page header, obviously that is going to get printed on each and every page. Okay, so if your report goes into second, third, and so on pages, this is going to repeat again at the top. So that might be somewhere where you want column headings to sit so that they get repeated every time. The details are where the data that I'm pulling, in this case the opportunity data, will show up. And then I've got the report footer, okay, goes at the very end of the report, page footer, bottom of each page. I'm going to add more sections later on when we get into grouping, but for now, I just want to drop some fields from the opportunity record onto the details section. Okay, and to find them, I can go to the Field Explorer, expand database fields, expand opportunity. Okay, and I want the opportunity named in there. Okay, so this may vary from one version to another. So you might, depending on your version of ACT, you might see this as name, you might see this as opportunity name. I'm going to double click on that. And sorry, right click and insert to report. And that's going to allow me to drag this. And when I put that in the report, Crystal throws a header on there for me right above it. Again, if I take a look right now, you can see that that's going to need a bit of formatting work, and it's all in uppercase because it matches the field name. It's underlined. It's kind of ugly right now. Okay, but sometimes it's helpful to have that in there so that I can go in and change it. Okay, so opportunity name. I might just call name. I'm not going to put it all in uppercase. And I want that page header to be bigger so that I can position my headings below this print date. So I'm going to grab this line here, bring it down. Okay, and then I'm going to take this page header, and I can drag this with the mouse, or I can hit my arrow keys. Using the arrow keys makes it easier to keep it lined up. And the other thing to notice is when you drop a field in, Crystal puts these little tabs in there, and you can see the red line on the left side of this means it's lined up with a tab somewhere. Okay, that way if I'm moving things around, it makes it easy to hook up here, because as soon as I get close to that tab, it kind of just pops into place if I have that turned on. Let me see, snap to grid, if I turn that on, then it will line things up a little easier. Okay, you can see right now those red lines are there. Okay, when I hit my mouse, or sorry, when I hit the arrow keys, it just kind of slides into place. Okay, those can be annoying sometimes when I'm being really nitpicky about lining things up, but most of the time those are helpful. Okay, so I've got the name in there. I want to put probability of close, so I'm just going to drag that over this time. Okay, now that's going to be a percentage, and so I'm never going to want it to actually be that wide. So I'm going to call this PCT. Close might be a nice way to keep the headers short. I'm going to resize this thing. I'm going to left align that. Again, I want it to line up with this one here. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to click in the margin and create my own tab here. That way I can line up each of these fields with that fairly easily. Okay, you can see the bottom is red now. It means the bottom of that box is lining up with the tab. Okay, I'm going to resize this. Okay, one thing that you can do to make your formatting job a lot easier is if you pick one field and then pick the other and right click, make them the same size or the same width. That way I don't have to grab the second one and try to, guess how wide it should be. Okay, so I actually want to go about that size. That's going to be the percent close there. Let's put the sales stage that we're at. Okay, let's see what kind of data is in there. I right click, browse data. Okay, that gives me some idea of how wide to make this. So I'm going to drop that in. I'm probably good with that size. Again, I'm going to take this and type sales stage. Okay, and then let's put in here the total value. Let's do the weighted total as well maybe. So I'm going to make this a narrower one again. Okay, that's fairly narrow already. Weighted total, let's drop that in. Okay, I want those to be the same width as that one. So I'm highlighting these with control. Pick that one with control as well. Right click, go to size, and I can go to same width there. Okay, and let's leave it at that for now. I'm going to clean this up a little. Let's go total. I'm just going to call this weighted. Okay, and every once in a while, as I do this, I'm going to want to save my report. Okay, so make sure you do that, and then also you're going to want to preview it. Okay, so I'm going to want to save that report there, and now I'm going to preview it. Okay, so gives me the name, gives me the percentage close. I might want to change some of this as I go. I might decide after all that I want that right aligned so that the title lines up here. I might also look at this and say, you know what, do I ever need that much space in the sales stage? And I could probably tighten that up a little. Okay, so I might go in, resize that here. Make that one match. Okay, and then I can drag that tab over, and that's gonna move anything that's tied to that tab. Okay, so I'm gonna snap that over as well, and it looks like okay. Now I think everything's lined up with the headers there. Okay, maybe the name needs to be a little bit bigger. Okay, so if that's important that I see the entire thing, I should make that wider. So let's go back into the design, see if we can really quickly move that over. The other thing I could do is just highlight the whole works here. Bring that over. Now that's going to break it off of my tabs. So I may or may not want to do that. In this case, I just want to quickly move that over. I'm going to put the tabs back on here. It was actually easier for me to move them, I think, and then put the tabs back in than to try to drag that around. Okay, so that looks good. Let's see, we're going to make the name a little wider. I don't have to make the heading exactly the same size, but I can. The heading's always going to be just the word name. It's the length of the opportunity name that I'm more concerned with. Okay, and I could also change this report to be at landscape format if I really find that I'm running out of space. I'm going to leave mine. Okay, Now what I want to do, now that I've got my report laid out, is I want to change this so that rather than showing all opportunities, I want to show just the open ones. Okay, so in our database, we can have opportunities that are open, and we can have them either closed, lost, or closed won, as well as open. I can tell that because if I go to my list of fields and I right click status and I go browse data, here's that sample again, shows me, okay, these are the values in that database. Okay, so I just want the open ones. So the easiest way to do that is to go up to the reports menu, go to select expert, and tell it that you want to select what type of records to get. Okay, and then if it's a field that you've already used in the report, it's easy to find. I haven't used that yet. I'm after the status, so I go down and I look under my opportunity table, choose status, hit OK, and now I click, I want it to be equal to, okay, and it shows me what the different values are there. These aren't always filled in. If it's a drop-down type of list or something with limited options, Crystal might figure that out for you, as it has in this case. So other times I might need to actually type it in, but here I'm going to choose is equal to open. Okay, and if I click OK and I run the report again, say refresh data. Every time I run the report, I can either tell Crystal use the data that's already grabbed from the database or refresh the data. I'm going to hit refresh here. Okay, now the opportunities that are showing up are only open opportunities. Okay, the other way that I could edit my selection is look under selection formulas instead. Okay, you can see the selection expert put this together for me automatically. It's a little easier to look at it that way for the basic stuff, but if I needed to have more of a complex formula with a lot of conditions or just something I can't do in the select expert, I can go in and actually edit the formula here. Okay, whereas what I did is I went to report, select expert, chose record, and now you can see that I've got opportunity status equal to open. And if I wanted to add additional criteria, I could hit this new tab here. Okay, so what I might also want to do is I might only want to show open opportunities that were created after a certain date. You know, maybe for one reason or another, I haven't done a good job of closing opportunities over time, and I've got some that are open, but they're really old. Okay, so now I want to put in a specific date. Okay, so in my record selection, I'll go to new, and I'm going to choose from opportunity. I'm going to go to, let's see, I could use create date, actually open date, there's the one I'm looking for. So I can see open date has got the actual date and time here. This is the demo database for ACT 2013, so it's a good idea for me to look at what date is in here so I can pick a good example. And I'm going to say anything that's from June 1st, 2012 or later. Okay, so I'm going to pick open date, hit OK, and I'm going to say it has to be greater than or equal to, and I'm just going to type in here, I'm looking at this format, I can see this is month, day, year, so I'm going to type in 6/1/2012, and I could probably get away with just the date, but I'm actually going to put in let's put in 12 a.m. and I want to make sure that I'm actually into today, and I can't remember whether they start today off at midnight or not, so I'm going to choose that as my time. Okay, and then click OK here. Okay, so that's going to change it up a bit. Now, if I give this report to someone to run, they're probably not going to run it out of Crystal Reports. I should set it up so that it can prompt them for what date they want to use, okay? Because that date will definitely change over time, the date that we want to be our cutoff for this report. And the way that I do that in Crystal Reports is with something called a parameter. Okay, a parameter lets the user who runs the report select some criteria, and then we can use that just like we would use a field in Crystal Reports. Okay, so I'm going to go to my parameter fields, and I'm going to create a new parameter. and I'm just going to call this open on or after. The type is really important. I can't choose string if I want to do a date. Actually, I need to choose, I'm going to go with date here. Okay, and list of values, I'm going to leave it static. Okay, so now when the report runs, it's going to allow the user to choose a date. Let's look at the options down below. Okay, here's the prompt text. So that's the name of the parameter that gets used in the report. But here's what it's going to tell them to do. It's going to instruct them enter, and then it just uses the name after that. So I could change this to enter the cutoff date for, put the cutoff for open date. Okay, so it's only going to show for on or after. Okay, I could default it to a certain date. Some of these make more sense with different types of parameters. Okay, if it's, you could allow multiple values. In this case, I just want one date. It's pretty straightforward. I'm just changing the prompt. Hit OK. And now I'm going to go into my my selection formula. So go into Select Expert, go to Record, and I'm going to go into, I'm going to change this. Okay, so instead of putting the actual date in there, I'm going to hit my drop down, and it should allow me to put a parameter in. I don't see it in the drop down list, so I'm going to go into my formula editor, and I'm going to say the open date has to be greater than or equal to, and then grab from report fields, here's my parameter. Okay, anytime I'm editing a formula, I can do a quick check by hitting this button. No errors found, so that looks good. Save and close. Hit OK. All right, now that I'm still in the preview and we don't have a date for this selected yet, now it's prompting me to go in and choose a date. Okay, so I'm going to back that up. I'm going to use the same June date again. I'm hitting the wrong way with my arrows. All right, so we're going to go in and pick June 1st, 2012. So now it's only going to show me open opportunities that have been open since June 1st or were opened after that. Okay, so I've done some selection now. All right, the formatting is pretty straightforward. If I go over to the Design tab, I can change things like, the font, whether it's bold, italicized or not. I mean, basically, if you can use a word processor, you can edit most of the fonts inside of Crystal Reports. We can change the borders up a bit. There are some drop-down controls here, but if you actually go find something, right-click on it, and go to Format Text, or format whatever the kind of box is, it's going to give you a lot more control over the individual text box itself, the border, the font, everything you can change about the look and style of it is going to end up here. Okay, so if I go to the border, okay, I can set the border all the way around, and instead of just having a single option, I've now got 4 different options for the border style. I can change the color of it. Okay, that drop down just basically put a border on the whole thing or one side of it and made it black. This gives me a lot more flexibility over it. Okay, I can even use formulas to change the color or to put a border on it. If I hit the button, it goes into a formula editor. Okay, and if your formula returns one of these constants here, that's how the border gets set. Okay, same thing if you look at the colors here. Go in, they tell you if you return any one of those colors. Why don't we actually go ahead and do that? So I'm gonna go to my total, and I'm gonna go to Format Field in this case, and I'm going to go to the font and set a formula for the color. Okay, and I'm going to say, let's actually change this. So we're using, there are 2 different languages for our Crystal formulas. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail on formulas in this video, but if I want to, I can change from one to the other. I'm going to work with the Crystal syntax, and that's really beyond the scope of what I want to cover here. But in Crystal, the default is if there's a null value in the database, it's going to raise an exception which will stop my report. I actually want it to be just a default value Okay, so for totals here, if there's a total that's not filled out on an opportunity, which I don't think can happen, it's just going to give us a 0 rather than a null. Okay, and I'm going to look, and if I can't remember how the formulas work, I can expand the operators. I want to look at control structures. Okay, so I want to say if the total is more than 1,000, then CR, so I'm going to make it, I think I want to make it green if CR lime will work. Lime, else CR blue. Okay, hit my little formula check button here, no errors found, save and close, hit OK. Okay, now when I go to the preview, any total that's more than $1,000 ends up green, otherwise it's blue. Okay, so maybe not a great value there. I'm actually going to go and change it, and I can do that right from the preview. If I right click, I get a lot of the same menu, so I can format the field, go back to my font, change the formula. I'm going to say if it's more than 10,000, and I found that color a little hard to read. Oh, there is actually a CR, just CR green. Okay, so anything over $10,000 shows up in green, otherwise that number shows up in blue. Okay, so I've got some formatting going on there. We covered the alignment already. Let's take a little bit of a look at the report sections. Okay, so if I go into the design, I've got the print date here. We saw that already. I've got the page number showing up, and if I do a preview and I scroll to the bottom, it's just showing a 3. Okay, so I'm going to do something a little bit fancier, and I'm going to go in and I'm going to put in a text box here. So insert text object, and I'm going to say page space, and then any one of these formulas I can drag into another text box. So if you need to string some stuff together, I can take this page, the page number, and now it's going to say page, and then I can say of. Okay, and then if you look under the same area where you have your database fields, there something called special fields. Okay, and there's actually a page N of M here. All right, but I wanted to show you this as an example. I could have just dragged that on the screen, but I'm knitting this together myself. So I've got page and then page number of and total page count. Okay, these are all variables that have to do with the report itself, not the database. Okay, so I'm going to go in page count, and now I can move that to wherever I want. So maybe I want that towards the right hand side. I want the whole thing to be right justified. Okay, now when I go to my preview, I see that there, and that's going to show up on every page because it's in the page section. It's in the page footer. Whereas the report header, if I put something in there, it's only going to show up at the beginning of the report. Okay, so I'm going to drag that across, and I'm going to call this the Open Opportunity Report. Okay, so let's go and bump up the font size. Let's make it bold, underlined. We'll put that in the center, although that doesn't center it if it sits here, but if I grab the sides and bring it right close to my margins, it should be pretty close to centered. Okay, and if I run that in the preview, you're going to see that up at the top, the page header under that. Okay, page footer at the bottom, but then we go on to page 2. Okay, page 2, we don't see the report header anymore, so that title is only there. So if I decide afterwards that I really want that title to be repeated on each page, I bring that Open Opportunity Report title down. Okay, and then on my preview, now I'm going to see that on each page. Okay, notice that on the first page it's further down because I have that report header, which is now blank. Okay, if I want to get rid of that space, there are two things I can do. One is that I can just drag this thing up and make it smaller. The other thing that I can do is I can actually right click on it and choose either hide or suppress. Okay, if you hide it, it means that someone could still expand that part of the report depending on how they're viewing it. If you suppress it, it actually won't let anyone go into it. And now that page or that report header is gone. Okay, and you can do it by formula as well. So let's take a look here. If for some reason I wanted all the open opportunities in my report because I was doing a calculation on the total, but I only wanted to show the ones that were worth more and worth more than a certain dollar amount or more than a certain percentage, I can actually hide sections based on a formula. Okay, so if I look here, let's find an example. I've got, let's say I only want to show stuff on here that has a probability of close of greater than 10%. Okay, so I would right click, and rather than just saying suppress the whole thing, which wouldn't give me much of a report, say don't suppress, and I right click, and then I go into the section expert. Okay, the section expert has some formatting options for the different sections in the report, and one of the things I can do here is I'm going to hit the formula button here for suppress, and for that one I have to return true or false. Okay, so if I return true, it gets suppressed, it doesn't show up. If I return false, it's going to show it. Okay, so sometimes it's hard to keep that straight, but that's the order you have to think of it in. If you return true, then yes, it's true that it will get suppressed. Okay, so I'm going to say if probability of close is less than or equal to 10, true, else, false. And again, if I want, I can change this. I don't think I'm going to have one where the probability of close doesn't exist, but if there is a null value for that now, it's just going to return 0 instead. Okay, just making my report a little bit more bulletproof. Oh yeah. I'm going to put the word then, hit save and close. Okay, and now when I run the report, it's still going through the records that have 10% or less for the percentage. If I totaled up this column, it would still include a total that included those records. It just doesn't show them. Okay, so I can hide things conditionally depending on a record. I also want to have a formula in here which will actually do a calculation. I want to show what the potential sales commission would be. So let's say we're going to do 12% commission on the total. So I can add that, and the way that I do that is I'm going to go in my Field Explorer and go to Formula Fields. I'm going to create a new formula, and I'm going to call that formula potential commission. Hit OK, and then I'm going to make this the total times 0.012. Okay, so this 0.012, I could make that a parameter. So if I wanted to run the report with different commissions in it, I could actually make it work that way. I'm going to hard code a 12% in here, hit save and close, and that's all I have to do to get that formula in. If I go back to design and I now drag that potential commission here, I'm going to just abbreviate that as PCOM. I'm going to left justify that, and I'm going to shorten that up. Okay, and then let's just make sure that that lines up. I'm not sure if these are all sitting exactly even, so I'm going to highlight them all and right click, go align, and align the baseline on them. Okay, so now it shows me the potential commission, and I want to change that a little further. I want to say that if the total is greater than $2,500, I'm going to pay 15% commission. But if it's less, I'm going to pay 12%. Okay, so now my formula, I get to do a little bit more with it. So I'm going to go in, right click, edit formula. Okay, because I can edit the formula directly from here. I can also go into my Field Explorer, right click, and edit from there. Okay, and I just say if opportunity total is greater than or equal to $2,500, Then this is going to equal 15%. I'm going to copy this. Else, actually, let's just grab it from up here. Opportunity total times 12. Okay, and let's go a little further yet. I'm going to say, if it's over $1,500 commission, I want to make it bold. Okay, so right-click this field and go to Format Field and go to Font, and then the style. Here's where we would change that. So the formula button that matches up with that is here, and it tells us, okay, make it bold. So if potential commission is greater than or equal to 1,500, then we're going to return CR bold, else CR regular. Okay, so that's going to set that off a little bit. Okay, hit the save button here. And we want to get into two more things yet in here. I want to break this up by sales rep. Right now I haven't listed the sales rep at all. I want to sort this. I actually want to group it by sales rep. Okay, so let's go ahead to the report. And then I want to go and go to the group expert, and I want to choose to sort this by the record manager. Okay, so it's not a report field. I haven't used it yet. I need to scroll down to the opportunity, and I want to choose record manager from this. And if I hit browse data, I can make sure it's the information I'm looking for. And now I hit group by, click OK. All right, it's now going to break it down by record manager here, and let me see if I go to the other pages. Okay, you can see there's Ernst and the third fellow. Let's see, might actually be on the first page. Okay, and there's Chris Huffman. Now if I go back to my design, now I can see I have more sections in here. I have a group header and a group footer. So these fields get repeated before each new group. And by default, the group name gets shoved in there. So when I'm looking at the grouping, I can see the field for the group name. If you right click this and go into select expert group, so hang on, I'm going to right click in here, go to change group. Okay, you can see that the field that it's using here. And you can also choose what to use for the group name field. So you can pick a different field, or you can even put a formula in here. Okay, so if I said, because maybe I want the formula to actually be the record manager's name plus some other field. Okay, so I can have it display whatever I want to as that title for the group. Okay, I'm going to leave mine alone. Just want to show you where that is. What I do want to add in is, in the footer right now I've just got space, and I want to add a little bit of space, but I also want to total up the potential commission. And so if I go in here and I say insert summary, I click on add to all group levels, I can choose, and do I want the total just on the group, or do I want a grand total? If I hit this here, hit OK, it now automatically places a field for me that's got the sum. So now I go to the preview and I scroll down, and notice that this field is no longer wide enough. So I'm going to go back to my design here and make this a little wider. Okay, size, same width. Let's try that again. Okay, it totals up the potential commission there for me. I want to do the same thing with my total. So I'm going to go insert summary. Okay, this could be an average instead, or whatever. The basic mathematics summary type calculations are there. This is going to be a sum, so I'm going to check that off. And I'm going to check off this one as well. And I realize I need more space on those too, so here I'm going to try to slide everything over a bit. Make each of these a little wider. See, they're tricky to line up manually, so I'm going to say same width, and let's make this a little wider. And make those the same width. Go to my preview. Okay, that looks good. I also want a border on the top of each of these. I can do that all at once by control clicking them, right click, format objects, and then go into the border here and just put a double border on the top. Okay, now I have those there. And the last thing that I want to do with that is I want to break the page out after each group. Okay, so if I go into the section expert, I have an option there on paging to do a new page before or after. So I want to do a new page after the group footer each time. Hit OK. Okay, so now I get each salesperson on a separate page. Okay, now Chris's stuff took 2 pages up, so it looks a little funny, but there, Ernst starts there. Actually, notice that his total, it's got to go a little wider. Let's see if I can just sneak and do it that way. Okay. Now if I look at his, it actually looks like I could have fit that grand total on this page, and if that's what I want, I can change that so that instead of having the report footer with the grand total on the last page on its own, I can go in to my section expert. Instead of just checking off this new page after, I can use a function here under print state. And I want to say if I'm on the last record, I want to say not is not true. Okay, so I'm going to put a not in front of it. I always forget whether that's a not or an exclamation mark. Let's change that and let's try that again. Okay, so now I'll go to preview. It looks like it's 4 pages now, so actually look and see. There's Ernst. I've got the last line for his total and then the report total here. Okay, and again, all I did to do that is under the section expert, I set that group footer so that I get a new page after the group footer as long as it's not the last record. Okay, and then the last thing I want to do is, it's kind of a funny example, but I want to put in a sub-report with activities. Okay, so I'm going to add that in so that for each opportunity, I can see any open activities with that contact. And that might be useful for me to see the potential business, but then see, do I have a meeting set up? Is there a phone call scheduled? What's the next step with each of those contacts? Okay, so now I want to put in a sub-report with a list of activities for each of these opportunities. But what I don't want to do is list off the same activities multiple times if one of my contacts has multiple activities. So if I have a meeting and a phone call with someone and I have 3 opportunities with them, I don't want to see that meeting and phone call 3 times. So I'm going to group my opportunities by record manager, but then by contact as well. So I'm going to go up to my report menu, choose group expert, and then choose contact from the contacts table. And now it's going to group by record manager and then contact. And I can move those around if I got them in the wrong order, but that's correct. So I'll hit OK. And now if I go to the preview, now I can see the contact's name and their group there. But because I filtered out certain opportunities under certain probability, I can now see some of those names without any opportunities underneath. Okay, so I'm going to turn the detail back on. What I would do ideally is set up a formula or set up a condition that checks to see if the sum, maybe if the sum of the percentages, or if the maximum percentage was less than 10, I have to hide the group header as well, and maybe the group footer. That's what's going on here. Okay, so for the sake of not making that overly complicated right now, I'm just going to go and to my section expert and take out my formula that's suppressing certain opportunities. Okay, so by doing that, I go back to my preview. Now I see at least one opportunity under every name. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I also want to change the formatting a little, because right now I can't tell the difference between the sales rep's name and the contact's name. So I'm going to move that over, and then I'm going to put in a text box that says rep and then the sales rep's name. Okay, so let's bring it over. Make the font a little bigger on that. I really want to set off that part of it. Okay, I might need to make my box a little bigger. Okay, now if I preview it again, I actually want the whole thing bold, so let's just go in there. Okay, and then I have to think about where do I want the activities to show up. Okay, if I put my activity sub-report in the detail line, it'll get repeated for every opportunity, and I don't want that. So I could put it in maybe the header, or probably the best place to put it visually here would be to put it in the group footer. So I'm going to go to the design, and then I'm going to give myself some more space in group footer 2. Okay, there's no total there right now or anything, it's just blank space, which if I wasn't going to use, I'd right click and say suppress it and not show it at all. But now I want to put in, let's say, go and insert a sub-report. Okay, so I'm going to call this activities for contact. And then I'm going to go through the very similar steps to create a pretty simple report that shows the activities. Okay, and then I'm going into the report wizard. I'm choosing what information do I want to see here. And so I'm going to choose contact activity, because that's my cross-reference. Activity and activity type I think I need as well. So I'm going to hit next, clear out the links, and choose to link these up properly. So contact ID links here, activity ID links to this one, activity type, activity type ID links here. Okay, now I'll hit next, and I'm just going to grab some really basic information. So from the activity, I want to know, let's see, the start date and time. From the activity type, let me see if I right click, or actually if we go to browse data, okay, that's what I'm after. I want the activity type, so the time and the activity type. Maybe that's all I really need for now. If I was looking at the opportunities, I want to see that I've got something scheduled. I might like more information than that, but just for this example, I'll keep it at that. I'll hit next. I don't want to group on any fields. I just want to hit finish and hit OK. And I'm going to drop that in now right there. So that's going to run that report. And if I double click it, it's going to take me to edit that report. And if I just want a list and I don't want the headings and anything like that, I'm going to suppress everything else. And that's just going to give me one line back that's the start date and time. And now if I go to my preview, okay, this report's going to take longer to run for sure. I actually want to cancel this. Getting a little bit too much in here. I want to go in and I'm going to link that up. That activities for contact right now is going to show all activities. Okay, and I want that report to only show activities for a specific contact. So I'm going to go into my select expert. Actually, let's create a parameter. I'm going to make that contact name. And now I'm going to make the report only run when the contact is equal to that parameter contact name. Okay, so, but it won't actually prompt me because I'm going to use that parameter to link it up. Okay. That's fine. So I would just gonna put test in here and let this run. Okay, and now you can see each of these are blank. Well, I'm not done yet. What I need to do is go back into my design for the report, right click, or change subreport links, and I'm going to change this so that I am linking from contacts table. I'm going to scroll down to get there. I'm going to link the contact field I'm going to link to the contact name. Okay, and so now it's showing the activity for each of those contacts, along with the date and time of the activity and what type of activity it is. Okay, this takes a lot longer to run because now it's pulling a list of opportunities, but then it's running another report for every contact who has opportunities to get their activities. So you can say this thing is chugging away right now. I'm at 15 pages, it's growing. I'm going to cancel it to finish up some formatting here. I'll go back into my design and I'm going to go and format subreport. I want to turn that border off. And so I'm going to set this to none. Okay, and then I want to go in here and see if I can change format field. Let's see if I can set that to show the date and time a little nicer. Pick that format. Actually, maybe I just even only want the date. So let's go in the preview. Yeah, that looks better. Okay, now I've got that white space in there, so I want to tighten that up a bit. And I can do that by going back to my design here. The subreport ends there. It is allowed to grow if it needs it, so as much space as it needs it will take up. So I can snug this up to the bottom here. Go to my preview. Okay, now I need a little bit more space than that, so I might decide to go a little further. And I probably also want something to label this, so I could have left the report header or something in here. I'm just going to put in a block of text. It says activities. Okay, I could probably make that a little nicer looking. The other thing that I should do is I want activities that are only in the future, they haven't been cleared yet. So I'm going to go to my activities report, go into my selection expert, and I'm going to say that I want the start date and time. Actually, we'll leave it. I want it cleared. It's equal to. That's going to be yes or no. So I don't care whether it's in the past or not, but if the activity isn't cleared, I want to see it. So I'm going to say activity cleared, no. All right, that's going to mean we only get uncompleted activities on this report, which I think makes sense. Go back to our preview. Okay, now it's grabbing that information from the database again, and it just looks like I still need a touch more space underneath, so I'm going to cancel that. And then I could put a little bit more space before the next group name, or I can right click in here and say insert line. Actually, let's get that out of there. I want to put another section in here, so say insert section below. Okay, so that's going to give me this as white space. So now I have a group footer 2A, which is the activities. And then even if there's rows, I've got group B, and that's going to give me the bit of white space that I need before the next contact record. All right, so go to preview again, and I now have a list of each opportunity in my database. sorted by sales rep with the activities that are outstanding for that contact. Okay, and this will take a little while to run. I'm going to go ahead and cancel it and end the video there.